We can finally discuss.
Let's get back to football.
Let's get back to football. The Premier League title race. Let's start with the leaders, Liverpool. They were held to a 3-3 draw by Newcastle. Thoroughly entertaining match at St James's Park. I think many people thought it was one of the best games we've seen, certainly this season. The Reds trailing twice. They then led thanks to a double from Mo Salah. Look set to extend their winning run in the league to 5 games, but Fabian Schär's 90th minute equaliser earning Newcastle, I think, a pretty deserved point in the end. But Quaveen Kelleher letting the ball go before that Schär equaliser, he will certainly rue that moment, won't he? I don't know if necessarily it will come back to haunt Liverpool. We'll talk about the title race, as I say, for the next sort of half an hour, 45 minutes. Let's firstly hear from the Liverpool boss, Arne Slot, who was asked if he was disappointed that they weren't able to hold on to that lead at St James's Park.
I would have loved it as well if the score would have been 3-2 for us in the end. But to be fair, there were moments in the game, if you would have told me then that we got away with a draw, I would have been happy. But in the end, especially after such an impressive second half, you feel like we can maybe go away with a win. But we had to defend so many free kicks and set pieces because there were a lot of free kicks for them. If you only get 1 point, it feels as if you drop 2 points. Now the question is always how difficult other teams have faced problems here as well, especially the big teams. And if you are then so close to a win, that could have really, how should I say this?
Lift off.
Yeah, lift off. But again, after us having 1 day less to recover for the second game in a row against City was like this, and today it was like this. To come up with such an impressive second half is, I think I have to give a lot of credits to the players for that.
Liverpool boss Arne Slot there after the 3-3 draw at Newcastle United. I wasn't overly surprised by the result, I have to say, and I'm sure a lot of Liverpool fans weren't either. They are a very, very good team at this point, and definitely the best team in the Premier League, but I think even Liverpool fans were getting slightly surprised by the size of the gap. They weren't going to just keep winning every single week.
I thought they'd beat Newcastle. I mean, we know this fixtures over the years has had a lot of goals from way back when, but I expected Liverpool to win.
I'm not talking about this specific fixture, more that it was likely they were going to drop points soon. That's what I'm saying. I wasn't incredibly surprised that they drew a match. Do you know what I mean? Like they scored 3 goals. It wasn't all their own way. They were away at Newcastle United, obviously, who are going to be up for a game against the league leaders. You watched the game. Of course, it was a bit too end-to-end for their liking, and maybe Newcastle had much more of the game than they were expecting. But like I said, they weren't going to just romp home to a Premier League title and win every single match. Games like this were going to happen. I don't take too much away from Liverpool at this point in time because they dropped points at Newcastle. The point is, can they bounce back? I think they will. Can they win the Premier League title? Obviously, they're still more than good enough to do that and in a very good position to do it. But I also don't think that, despite where they are in the Premier League and the number of points that they've been getting recently, that you watch their games and think, how is anyone going to beat this team? They are an excellent team with some fantastic players who've been winning matches, but they don't look like, how are you going to create a chance? They're so impenetrable. They're so incredible. Like, I haven't watched any Liverpool game and thought, they're uncatchable. And sometimes in past seasons, you've watched Manchester City and thought, as they've extended their lead in the Premier League, who's going to stop this team?
No, but I don't think you can compare them to Man City.
But I'm saying I just don't get that feeling with Liverpool right now that they're just going to be unstoppable in the Premier League title race.
Yeah, but I know what you're saying, and it pains me as a Man United fan, but what I will say is that Liverpool, like Van Dijk, they have that swagger back about them. Even against Real Madrid, Conor Bradley had an unbelievable game. I know Mbappe is going through a rough time at the moment, but Curtis Jones, Gravenberg's been amazing, and Mo Salah, I think that guy is just unbelievable. I don't think people could say, how can you say that as a Man United fan? Separating that, because I love players like Kevin De Bruyne as well. Yeah. Mo Salah is just on a completely different level. I still think, Darwin Nunez, I still don't think has got going in a Liverpool shirt in a weird way. Second season now, first season you can say, you see he's got all the minerals to be that player. He's got the physique, he's got the pace, but what I will say is he just misses too many opportunities. Yeah. But this Liverpool side, I was surprised. I know what you're saying about them dropping points, but if you look at this Newcastle team, they haven't been good this year. Losing to West Ham at St James's Park last week as well. I expected Liverpool to go there and turn them over. I did, but I think credit to Liverpool, credit to Arne Slot, because going in there after a manager like Jurgen Klopp is massive. And I feel like right now it's like Man City are almost gifting it to them. But again, you still can't write off Man City in a weird way even though they went all those games without a win, it's Man City. And you don't just become a bad team overnight, not to be cliche, but I will be.
I don't think we can write off any team, but I'm happy to talk about Manchester City and squeeze them in here. They got back to winning ways 3-0 against Nottingham Forest. And the reason you can't write them out for me is you look at the performance of Kevin De Bruyne last night. He is nowhere near 100% fit. He's had real difficulty with his last couple of injuries getting back to full fitness. It has been for me a couple of years. Even I remember being at the World Cup. You were there as well. That wasn't Kevin De Bruyne at 100%, and he has not been at 100% since then. So we're talking now 2 years without really seeing the best of Kevin De Bruyne. But when he gets to 80%, when he gets to 90%, that is an unbelievable player for Manchester City to have. The question will really be, can he stay fit throughout the rest of this campaign? Because when you watch Manchester City last night, Erling Haaland's much more involved in the game when Kevin De Bruyne is there and running things and able to move around the pitch. You know, if Kevin De Bruyne can get fit, people talk about Rodri being missing and how it could really affect them. I'm sorry, but if Kevin De Bruyne is at his best, if he can get near his best, and that connection with Erling Haaland is still there, Manchester City can win the Premier League title. That is for sure. I haven't seen what I've seen from them in a negative sense. I didn't see that last night, and I think the difference really was Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't rely on one player, but
you can't. But like Ruben Diaz was out for a while as well, and every team has injuries, but they just don't look their normal self. Obviously, Doku played and Grealish played, but I think, you know how much I love Jack Grealish. I just toned it down a bit when he went to City, but like, I just don't think he'll ever really succeed. Yes, he's won the treble and all those things. As an individual at City, I just don't see it. He just seems to play within himself when he's in a City shirt for whatever reason. So, and there's obviously that speculation about him potentially moving on. I like Doku, but I just think you look at this team, Gundogan going back there, but you can't write them off.
But listen, Gundogan looked sharper last night. Doku looked good last night. Obviously, scored a great third goal as well, but he was sharp. He was razor sharp the whole night. You know, it has hit a point with Manchester City that some of the players who haven't been the big names in years gone by also need to step up. You know, we can point the finger at Bernardo Silva's, Kevin De Bruyne's, you know, Ilkay Gundogan's and players like that. Even the likes of Ruben Diaz and John Stones and Kyle Walker at not being their absolute best. All senior players, you know, all right, Ruben Diaz a bit younger, but senior players in the team. But what about the more recent signings? You know, you've still been signed by Manchester City, a team that's been going out there winning trophies year after year. You still play for Pep Guardiola. When are you going to come into this team and be one of those key figures? We haven't seen it from Matthias Nunes. We haven't seen it from Doku. We haven't seen it from Savinho. Yes, of course, they've all got talent. We know that they've got great talent. We need to see that every single week in the Premier League. Gvardiol's a little bit off form at the moment.
I think Oscar Bob would have been big for them this year.
Yeah.
I think he was excellent in the Community Shield, but I think obviously that injury, I think Rico Lewis, when he plays, does well. So I think there are a lot of young players within that team. Do you watch I'm a Celeb? This is really random, but no. Richard Coles last night, right, said, they asked him, no, this is really random. They asked, who would you want to swap lives with? And he's the Reverend. And he said, Kevin De Bruyne.
Really?
And I was like, I did not see that one coming at all. And he just spoke about how good he was as a player. And I was like, oh my God. And Kevin De Bruyne is one of those players that can do things that people cannot do. And I say what separates the good from the great, thinking 3 or 4 passes ahead, not just thinking what's in front of them. And I think these types of players, like you say, Rodri's a massive loss to this team. But if Kevin De Bruyne is out, you can see the difference. He's the type of player that brings everybody else alive.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.